Binding of Isaac Rebirth is another game from Edmund Macmillan, half of Team Meat, who also brought us the amazing modern classic Super Meat Boy. The Binding of Isaac Rebirth is a remake of The Binding of Isaac from the ground up, with upgrading graphics, music and controls. The most notable change in The Binding of Isaac Rebirth from the original, apart from the graphical and musical upgrade, is the fact that the game now has official controller support, which means no more mouse and keyboard for us who WASD is just a little bit too awkward. I don't know about you, but I'm a lot more comfortable with a controller in my hand than I am with a keyboard. I'm all thumbs. The Binding of Isaac Rebirth pretty much retells the exact same story from the original Binding of Isaac, and in case you're not familiar with that game, here's a quick little rundown. You take control of Isaac, a happy-go-lucky little boy who lives a pretty content life with his mother, until one day when his mother is watching Christian cable TV and hears the voice of God ask her to prove her love and devotion to him by sacrificing Isaac to him. And then she pretty much just pretty much says yes to that because, you know, a mother's love and all. And without any real hesitation, she makes her way towards Isaac with plans to sacrifice him. Isaac manages to escape from her by escaping down to the basement of the house, and that's where the bulk of the gameplay will take place. However, this is not your standard basement, as it seems to lead on to a countless number of other cave systems and eventually will lead down all the way into hell. Isaac's primary means of defense against the enemies he encounters in the basement are his tears. Isn't that just lovely, huh? You play as a little 6-year-old and he's going on killing things with his tears because his mum is trying to kill him. Isaac, you're not having a good day, are you? The Binding of Isaac is also not for the squeamish or the easily offended, as there is quite a lot of jabs being taken here at religion and abusive parenting, and the art style does lend itself very much to the gruesome side of things, so if you're not okay with seeing like a little cartoon cutesy little kid being all sorts of messed up, then maybe avoid this game. Maybe play something a little bit more friendly, like a little bit of, how about you try Five Nights at Freddy's? I hear that's a lovely little game you can play on the side. Lovely, look lovely little happy-go-lucky guys over there, huh? Go play with them. You're in for a surprise. The art style is classic Edmund Macmillan, as characters manage to be both cute and repulsive all at the same time, which is not an easy balance to make, but Edmund Macmillan always seemed to shine through in that respect. The Binding of Isaac is very similar to the original Legend of Zelda on the Nintendo. The gameplay in Binding of Isaac is primarily a top-down shooter where you control Isaac with one control stick and the other thumbstick is used to shoot Isaac's tears at his enemies in multiple directions. However, Isaac can level up quite quickly with the endless supply of upgrades available within the basement, hidden behind certain treasure doors, after boss fights, and also coming across devil rooms in which Isaac can make a deal with the devil and exchange some of his hearts for some stronger power-ups. There's also coins you can pick up and spend in a shop to gain even more items. Every single aspect of the game is completely randomized, so you will never ever feel like you are bored or treading old ground when playing the game, as the game is roguelike. If you understand what roguelike is, I'll put up a description right now. That means that every dungeon layout, every item placement, and every boss battle is completely randomized, so no two playthroughs will ever be the same. The fact that no two playthroughs will ever be the same adds hours and hours of countless replayability to the game. While playing the game, you feel like you are constantly being rewarded by new unlocks, by new boss battles, and new levels. The roguelike nature of the game is both a blessing and a curse, as you can end up getting severely overpowered through one playthrough and completely handicapped in other playthroughs, which will make the game almost impossible for you to play, because not every upgrade is an upgrade. Some of these upgrades are absolutely useless or a detriment to your character. So there is an element of risk and reward when coming across an unknown power-up. Death in Binding of Isaac is permanent. There is no life system, so once little Isaac there bites the big one, that is it for that playthrough. You then have to start again from a brand new game from level 1 and work your way all the way back. This however feels more rewarding than it does frustrating, as you will hardly ever die in the Binding of Isaac due to unfairness. It's usually down to your own fault or your own mistake. Each playthrough of the Binding of Isaac only ever lasts about maybe 30 to 40 minutes at most. Before you either die or complete the game, they have to restart from the very beginning, as you will lose every power up and everything you earned up until that point. There is also a wealth of unlockable material within the game, such as the challenge mode will give you certain prerequisites for certain levels or certain challenges within the game. After your first few hours of playing through the game and the eventual completion of the game, when you finally have confrontation with your mother, the game only really starts to begin then. As you may think that was the final boss of the game, the more hours you sink into this game, the more you will be rewarded. Everything from unlockable characters to new boss battles to new power-ups to the eventual true ending of the game can only be unlocked after several hours are invested within the game. And I'm talking quite a lot of hours here. I'm talking within the hundreds. Yeah, so Just call all your friends and tell them you fucking hate them. That'll free you up a few weeks so you can play this, huh? The Binding of Isaac is a very difficult game to recommend to people as there is nothing really mind-blowing about the game. However, the gameplay is tight and responsive, and it is addictive as all hell. I mean, you are going to sink hours and hours of your time into this game, not even realize it, and not even care. You're going to be enjoying yourself way too much. While playing The Binding of Isaac, I have had some of the best times I have had in recent memory while playing the game. However, your enjoyment of The Binding of Isaac all comes down to luck. It all comes down to the luck of what upgrades you manage to receive for Isaac and how far you manage to get into the game. Depending on that, you can end up getting severely handicapped very early on in the game, and then you might have to make the decision to just kill yourself off and maybe get better unlocks in the next playthrough. It's like Sophie's Choice. So for fans of hard but tough games and roguelike dungeon crawlers, The Binding of Isaac is a must buy, or at least a must play. There is always that excitement of maybe this run will be that perfect run where you manage to get through the entire game. But for more casual players, I'm not sure how The Binding of Isaac will be received, as it does demand a lot of time dedicated to it in order to get the full value out of the game, and if you're not into constantly replaying the same game, restart your character after every death, this may not be the game for you, as that is pretty much the bread and butter of this game. So, after all that, I still don't have a scoring system, if you could believe that. So let's just give this game 4.5 extremely creepy bloody Isaac faces. Look at that little guy. How could you not love him? Ooh.